if you can bear with me through 3 points, you'll be a knee wizard, not only for yourself, but for others for the rest of your life, capable of helping thousands of people. Now, there was a pivotal point in 1978 that should have been for the better for our knees. Duke University found that when our knee goes over our toes, it puts more pressure on our knee. That should have changed the world from that point for the better. Instead, it took everything for the worse, and we got this idea of not letting our knees over our toes. So the very position we need to be strong in to protect our knees, we've now been, millions of us, it's not all doctors and trainers, but the overwhelming majority, like I grew up my entire life, prohibited from letting my knee over my toe, which is actually letting the knee over the toe and going to that full bend are actually not only the exact positions that strengthen the muscles responsible for protecting your knees, they also strengthen your tendons, ligaments, and I'm even hopeful, also from Duke last year, found that humans can regenerate cartilage the same way like zebrafish can and stuff like that. And considering that nothing that I use in knee ability has ever been tested, I'm very optimistic that we can even regrow cartilage. And what we use has super strong evidential links to regrowing meniscus, which is a form of cartilage. So you get my point. The number one thing that we should have found in 1978 and then figured out, we basically just should have figured out knee ability from that point. We should have figured out a gradual progressive system of exercise to be strong with our knees over our toes. Okay, that's what I've devoted my career to, and I have the most knee success stories of anyone who's ever lived. It's literally that simple. And what is the most regressed of that? We're still on point number 1. I promise by the end of these 3 points, you'll never look at knees the same, and you'll be an absolute wizard at helping yourself and others for the rest of your life off this video alone. Okay? So, simply walking backwards. Look at that. You literally cannot walk backwards without your knee going over your toe. So if you want a long-term route of just having knee longevity, just walk backwards 15 minutes, 3 times a week. Within a 2-year span, you will have done about 100 miles. And I'll plug into this later, but 100 miles has been an outlier point, that there's 0 outliers of people who have just put in the energy with all our tens of thousands of miles forward and sprinting and all this stuff and jumping. No one has ever just done 100 miles backwards and not experienced profound results. Never occurred, even once. Go try to be the outlier. You can't, because it's just biology. It's just physics and biology. Our human bodies were not designed to fail. Life was supposed to be beautiful. Our bodies were supposed to work, and we have the solutions. There is no guesswork. Our bodies can and do work. So, walking backwards, this is tip number 1 out of the 3 tips, okay, is that is the most regressed form. And we can add resistance to that. If you want to speed up the results of walking backwards, add resistance. This is a really cool home tool that has an internal resistance. So this actually resists me. So the harder I work backwards, the more, let's look at it in slow-mo. Boom, slowing down. That's what hurts people's knee. Okay, whatever the position is that hurts your knee, put it on rewind, and you just figured out how to solve it. Now, this is one of many tools, and this is one of the 3 tips we're going to go into greater detail. The point is, by resisting yourself backwards, you can speed up that process. And here's the finish of this point, because it's very different, okay? All the other knee ability exercises are actually far more transformative than ROKP, reverse out knee pain. They're far more transformative, and they work your mobility, and they're going to be better for your athleticism, and they're going to be better for bulletproofing. But this is the bedrock. No one fails for lack of a high enough tool. People fail only because they don't actually get started and get into it. It's the only thing that's ever led to someone failing, is just not actually understanding what's in this video. And here's the difference, okay? This could be 1,000 pounds. This could be an immovable wall. It just wouldn't move. But if you put a wall on your back, you'd break your knees. You'd destroy yourself. So you see the difference. The eccentric is the way down of an exercise. And progressing in that is actually more transformative than this is just the extension. And then the next one extends. You're never receiving the blow. But that's also why this is the lowest form. So I don't even do this anymore. I have this for demonstration. I have this for Alyssa. But I really got this mostly for demonstration and because I'm in LA, and this allows me to throw it in the back of my Jeep. So I've been able to use this to help people here to start getting out of pain and learn and feel how this works, okay? Because this doesn't just work by magic. You actually, like anything else in training, you work really hard backwards. You get incredible pain-free blood flow to the muscles. You get stronger in the muscles. So I can kind of conclude up tip number 1 here. And that is that you have knees over toes, okay? It's not this scary thing. It's actually the number 1 thing to protect us. And this is the lowest form of knees over toes, is just walking backwards. And if you want to speed that up, you add resistance to it, which gets us right into number 2, okay? And number 2 is that once you get this concept of going backwards, and you can do 15 minutes, okay? Do 15 minutes. Take breaks if you need. The interesting thing is that at a really low level, you'll actually just go for 15 minutes, like you'll just be getting into it. And then at a higher level, you'll be like maybe going for like a minute and then having to rest and then going because you'll be working so much harder, right? So just set a timer for 15 minutes. Never work through pain and try to ramp up how good you get backwards. So this is a fundamental law of your body, is that the stronger you are in reverse of a motion that causes pain, the more protected you are when you go into that motion. Number 2 is just the implements, okay? So I'm gonna plug in right here and hang on for the next minute or so, and I'm gonna plug in, boom, 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 my other 6 favorites, right? So this is one of them, but there's a bunch of ways to get this done. Okay, that's point number 2. Point number 2 is you do have to find a way to get into a rhythm. And there's pretty much infinite number of ways. And I'm putting right here, as soon as I shut up, I'm putting right here all the ways I know so far with my exact, how much weight or this or that. Because if you use too much weight, you'll end up just like leaning against it and not working your knee over toe. You see that? So you basically want, you want kind of the most resistance that still allows you to get your knee over your toe. If it's too heavy, you won't. And if it's too light, you just don't challenge yourself. There's nothing really wrong with that. The progress will just take longer and not be as great of progress. Okay? So that's point number 2. Let's watch it. So I like to do this without using my hands. See that? So I have to use my feet to get it spinning. And I'm going to use I like to go like this with my arms. It doesn't matter. You can go hands here. You could rest your hands on it. You could even put your hands like this if you're not comfortable. But this is my favorite way. Now you can see here, I'm spinning this backwards. So right off the bat, again, scientifically, biologically, we're creating improvement for our knees. But where the magic is in improvement. So by getting it going faster, it has its own internal resistance, which makes it harder. So if I keep pushing as fast as I can for 2 minutes, no matter how strong you are, you can get an incredible workout, and you get all that blood now into your knees to heal while strengthening. Sleds are designed for this, but you can actually use anything. Some of us like to chain friction even better. Sand in a bag on grass works great. A car in neutral is my personal favorite. Even a hill can get the job done, but make sure to go down slowly with your toes out. And we're back. So now point number 3 is really a truth of life that's gonna help you get the most out of this. And this is the guiding thing that took my life from destroyed by knees to now completely dominating my knees and having more knee success stories for it. Like, who would have thought I was the guy who couldn't even finish my high school basketball career? Like, I've barely known anyone who at such a young age had as bad of knees as I did, right? So talk about turning lemons into lemonade or whatever. But here's how. No excuses ever for anything. Every time you make an excuse, you just put a lie into the universe. You just lied. Because you're much more powerful than that. Okay, so I already know as soon as I show the quote, $750. $750? I saved up $1,000 by the time I was 6 years old. I'll tell you how. At 4, I decided, wow, I want a Michael Jordan rookie card. I got into collecting basketball cards when I was 4, and I could see that like the value of these things going up. And my dad was into like investments and stuff, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna save up $1,000 for a Michael Jordan rookie card. I didn't know how long it would take, so I said, don't get me any birthday presents, don't get me any Christmas presents. So right off the bat, for everyone watching this, cut out birthday, cut out Christmas. You just got yourself saved a bunch of money right there. No birthday presents, no Christmas presents, no toys. So I went about 2.5 years, no toys. And then I was pestering my parents for any little jobs I could do and telling every aunt and uncle who would listen, don't send me crap, send me cash, okay? So now it's about 6.5, Christmas comes around. I had saved up $1,000 myself. I bought my own Christmas present. Well, what did I have waiting under the tree? A safe. My parents bought me a safe to put the rookie card in. So I had a Michael Jordan rookie card by the time I was 6 because I cut out all the things that every other kid I ever knew. Never knew another kid, but my point is that I didn't take that as an excuse. You can't, the moment you put an excuse, you're lying to yourself. There's only one valid excuse. If you're sitting in a wheelchair or something like that and you have no legs, anyone watching this, because there's millions of us complaining about knee pain, right? We are all slapping those people in the wheelchair in the face. It's disrespectful. We are slapping them in the face every time we make an excuse. You can't afford $750 for this? Good, look at one of the options. But you can afford $750. And I'm going to give you one other example, but my point is this. There is no such thing as if you have legs that work, okay? If you weren't born with a defect or didn't get in an accident that you actually don't even have legs. If you have legs that have nerve supply, there is no valid excuse, okay? I see people all the time who've been struggling with their knees for so many years. And now you have a biologically perfect route to get out of that. And there is no excuse that's worthy. But these are the same people. And I fix them, you see the results. But I'm just saying, so many of them come in with, oh man, it's snowing outside. Okay, get a treadmill, turn up. Oh man, that's expensive. Go on Craigslist, find one that's used. You don't even need the treadmill to work. It can be broken. It's even better. It doesn't matter. When you make an excuse, you're just lying to yourself. You're lying to the universe. And the other example I was going to give is that in the last 3 years, so like I started this year with 25,000 Instagram followers. I started my Instagram account May 27th the year before. Okay, I know how to get successful at things, but out of the last 3 years, I've spent 2 of them that I have not engaged in any entertainment of any kind. You want to give me an excuse? I've still never met anyone to this day that I've known who actually did it. Try going 1 year, no entertainment of any kind. Anything you do that it's like you're done working and now it's right? There's a difference between learn. So examples would be you definitely can't watch any porn. It's entertainment, okay? So there's no porn for an entire year. There's no video games unless you're a professional video gamer. If you're not a professional video gamer, there's no video games for next year. There's no watching sports games. Look, if you want to break down slow motion highlights of Michael Jordan or someone else, whatever, you can do that. But you can't just watch a live sports game. It takes too long. That's time you could be working. Okay? There's no TV. I mean, God forbid commercial stuff. There's no Netflix or any of this other stuff. I mean, whatever. You can't go to a medieval times thing and watch a jousting. You can't go to the movie. You can't engage in any entertainment of any kind. No entertainment of any kind. Try it for a year. You know what? Every time people start telling, what the heck do you do with your time? I work. I outwork the competition factually by not engaging in entertainment. My point is just that. Even if you do that for a short amount of time, even if you did that for 2 years and got your 100 miles of ROKP in, you'd be setting yourself up for an entire different rest of your life. Now I can afford to do whatever the heck I want, make my own schedule, but I wouldn't be able to make my own schedule or do any of these other things if I wasn't willing in the first place to cut out the excuses. So my point is just that between the example of me being a kid and cutting out holidays and things like that, and now as an adult being willing to cut out entertainment, my point is just that there is no such thing as a valid excuse if you have legs. If you have legs and they have nerve supply to them, you have no excuse. So now you know these 3 points. You understand the truth about knees over toes and that it's actually, we've only hit epidemics of knee surgeries. As we said, that's the position we need. That's the position that puts pressure on knees. Well, let's avoid that. And then when it actually happens in real life, we're going to be destroyed because you can't even go downstairs. You can't shoot a jump shot. You can't live life without your knees over your toes. So that was a pivotal point that we totally botched by just lack of common sense. And now the whole world, okay, but it's endless like this. I mean, the guy who made the Rice formula, rest, ice, compression, elevation, has since recanted and said he was wrong. But it doesn't matter. The whole world knows what's wrong, and we all believe what's wrong, even though he's now trying to get everyone to be aware that he was actually wrong about that. So you get my point, is that we screwed that one up. But now you're watching this, and you understand the truth about knees over toes, and you understand that the lowest form of that is just walking backwards. And if you want to speed up that process, resist it. And then if you want to actually be bulletproof and you want to achieve the best of what there is, then you start learning how to actually load movements with the eccentric, not to mention hitting all the other key points that, again, provide the protection in the areas that there's pressure on our knees. So you understand knees over toes. You understand, at least I've brought to the table more solutions than anyone else ever has for reverse out knee pain. And with number 3, I've made it very clear to you that there is no such thing as an excuse, and that you are more powerful than you know. You're more powerful than you. And every time you make an excuse, you're lying to the universe and reducing your own power. So there you go. Now you can be a complete wizard at making miracles for others, yourself, for others, the entire rest of your life. The amount of people I've had come to me who had scheduled surgeries, I can't even count it now. At one point I kept track and it was like 50. Now it's in the hundreds of people who had scheduled surgeries canceled. I never even looked at their graphs. It just started applying common sense, okay? Started applying exactly what's in this video. So you don't even have to understand the anatomy of your knees, because the very doctors and exercise scientists don't even understand this stuff yet. So you don't even have to know what's in your knees. Okay, I was diagnosed 100% torn ACL. Now I've had another, and I didn't operate. Another doctor said, now, well, I think you regrew your ACL or whatever. It doesn't matter. The amount of damage I had in my knees, I was never supposed to play high-level sports. I was never even supposed to fully bend this knee that now has perfect bend. I was never supposed to even fully bend it, okay? According to seasoned expert doctors, okay? You don't even have to know what's in there, because function is senior to structure. So with knee ability, we're only addressing pain-free function. You're never working through pain. Pain is your body's signal. It tells you what's going on. So we're only addressing function, and literal miracles are happening every day. Now you have the tools. Go out there, change the world, and in the process of transforming and giving people miracles for their knees, get across the more important points, that what we're doing here is we're actually handling our problems by confronting them at levels we can handle, and then we're making no excuses. Go through life without an excuse ever. Eventually, you'll have no reason to make one.